You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Did soccer discover America, or did America finally discover soccer? Either way, soccer is here in a big way, and it's here for good.
1996 was truly an historic year for the sport of soccer.
Flashbulbs everywhere because the Beckham era has begun at last.
It's officially official. Signed today, Lionel Messi, Inter Miami. He's in Major League Soccer.
Underway. Major League Soccer has begun.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 2 of the Battered MLS Fans podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, and with me, I'll have a panel of another 4 MLS podcasters from across the league. So welcome. We're going to have fun like we did last week, and let's just start bringing people in. So I'm going to start bringing them in one at a time. So let me just set this up real quick. Let's start with one of our oldest friends here on the Battered Network, Mr. Todd Lewis. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good, Danny. Finally nice to be reunited once again and do something a little bit different. So it's going to be nice not having the chat filled with nothing but Inter Miami fans just flooding the comment section. So thanks for thinking about me and having me here on show number 2.
Well, just so you know, we travel well. So I think we will have an Inter Miami presence in the chat because we do travel well. But yes, hopefully a little more scattered. And now next, Mr. Supporter Shield himself, Mr. Justin Blair. How are you doing, sir? Waldo. Where's Waldo? You ain't bringing the outfit today.
No, I'm not bringing the outfit today, but I'm bringing that energy, man. Supporter Shield, we're coming back for it, man. We need this summer window, transfer window. We're coming for another one.
Yeah, you guys were celebrating that victory over Miami, and then you just nosedived right after. But all good. Well, we'll keep talking about that. And then Mr. Defending Champ, the one that actually matters in Ohio, Mr. Ty Fisher from the Wise Men Podcast. What's going on, Ty?
Just peachy keen living the dream.
You weren't wearing that before.
I was. It was turned around.
Oh, okay.
It was turned around. Once you said supporter shield, I said, hold on. Let me make sure that everybody knows who the champs are.
Yeah, for sure. Look, we respect that. We don't respect whatever it is that Justin's holding up. We don't respect that. We respect the hat that you got on, though. All right, and then
all this is a plate.
That's all it is. It's a plate. We call it a croqueta plate down here. All right. And then last but not least, first time to the Battered Network, Mr. Will Forbes, Mr. MLS Moves. What's going on, Will? How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to join all you guys and hopefully officiate a good Supporter Shield versus MLS Cup debate. Hopefully it doesn't get too personal. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, but well, let's start off right there. Well, this was not on the topic sheet, but regardless, if you could choose one, Will, what would you go with? Supporter Shield or MLS Cup?
MLS Cup.
Okay, thank you. All right. There's only one that brings the star, Justin. I'm sorry. There's only one that gets you that star.
Honestly, though, if you would have told me going into the last season which one mattered the most to me, and Ty is fully aware of this, all you guys are fully aware of this, being 3-time wooden spoon winners, the Supporter Shield was the target for us, right? Getting that consistency of play, right? It's one thing to go in, and I'm not saying Columbus did this last year or LA before them. It's one thing to just kind of crash the party and go in and win the playoffs and stuff like that. But it's another thing to be that consistently good. That's what we needed in Cincinnati. That's what we got. But now I got to say, man, I want that MLS Cup now.
Yeah. We'll get into that maybe in another episode. We're not talking MLS Cup just right yet. All right. Now, what we are talking, Leagues Cup started last Friday. But before Leagues Cup started on Friday, on Wednesday, we had an All-Star game. And in the post game, Mr. Don the God Garber had a press conference. He had some interesting comments. Now, I'm sure all of you guys heard the comments, but maybe not everybody that is watching heard them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to play this clip real quick. It's about a minute long. And then maybe we could discuss what we heard here because it's interesting.
We sit down in owner committees and talk about these things and talk about the best path forward that will work for all of our clubs. And the decision we made then was based on Champions Cup qualification and a whole bunch of other schedule dynamics And there were a handful of clubs that said, hey, we actually would like to participate. But by then it was too late. So that's going to go into the hopper now. We're going to figure out how do we present a plan to U.S. Soccer that will be orderly and will make sense. But again, there were 1,400 people in the stands in Atlanta for the game that they played the other night. That's a big building, right? And opening up that big building that we have to pay for 1,400 people doesn't make sense. I love the legacy of it. Our founder's name is on the trophy, but the tournament needs to get better. And we're not quite sure collectively what we need to do to achieve that. And I say that on behalf of U.S. Soccer and Major League Soccer. For whatever reason, the tournament hasn't resonated enough to be able to drive the value that we hope it could drive at some point. And U.S. Soccer would acknowledge that. And our task is to figure out the right way to manage it over the period of time to determine whether or not the tournament can achieve its goals and whether it could make sense for Major League Soccer teams. Staff, we sit down and owner committee.
So you heard it. I'm sure you had heard it already. I put it just in case anybody in the chat, live viewer watching later, hadn't. So those are his thoughts on the Open Cup. And obviously because the Open Cup constantly gets linked to Leagues Cup. And I understand where he's coming from. Obviously, the interest in Open Cup a lot of times isn't there with the attendance. But I'm going to dish it over to you guys to see what you guys have to say. Let's start over with the newcomer, Mr. Will Forbes. What did you have to say, or what do you think about the comments by Don Garber?
Well, obviously that game wasn't played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
It was not.
As far as I know, the only attendance that was bad at that stadium was the opening Leagues Cup match, where it looked like there was, I don't know, maybe 5,000 to 10,000 fans in that stadium when they're normally 40 to 45,000 fans. So I just think it's propaganda by Don Garber. And, he has this quote where I think it was last year or when they officially announced we weren't going to play in the Open Cup anymore. He had said that the schedule was too congested, but he's in control of the schedule. They literally dictate how each team plays their games throughout the year. We played US Open Cup, in the whole entire existence of MLS. It's never been an issue before, but it does get in the way of their cash grab of Leagues Cup, which I know we'll talk about later. But I just think it's more BS from Don Garber, and he's pushing an agenda. And, I'd like to see all teams return to it as quickly as possible.
Oh, okay. Justin, what do you think about the comments by Don the God?
Yeah, I gotta completely agree with Will there. I mean, he played in Kennesaw State, and they're trying to claim that it was Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's just show for him. Now, I will say that the U.S. Soccer Federation hasn't done enough to market this tournament at all. It is going to be hard to convince the casual fans, the season ticket holders, to get on board with this kind of tournament, right? They're there to see the top level soccer. And, if you're the likes of, we'll say LAFC or New York City FC, if you're a team that's, got a little bit of cachet in the market, you're not going to sit there and look at a matchup between a team that may not be regionally specific, like if you're not getting an Oakland roots at LAFC, you maybe not filling in that interest, right? But there are markets like Cincinnati. I think that we have tons of teams nearby. We came up through the USL days, and so I think there are fans that want to see this tournament. I think there are fans that would pack the stadium. It's just a poor marketing job by both the MLS and the U.S. Soccer Federation.
Ty?
It's when we were in the press conference before the match, I could just hear crap going in one ear and out the other. It's to kind of.
Oh, that's right. It was in Columbus. You were there.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah, it was before kickoff. To hear that all teams were pulled out of it because it's a schedule congestion. When Leagues Cup was announced, I was like, this is much more of a congested schedule. But for Don to say that, they need to do better and to do that, I understand it because it's a midweek tournament and not everybody's playing their best teams, but the legacy of it. I mean, the legacy of the tournament. I mean, Lamar Hunt founded 2-3 teams, original teams that started it. It was just one of those things. Was like, we can't get on board with this at all.
All right, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what Don's saying. I mean, I think all of us would agree that Don Garber's in it for money, for money with MLS. How can MLS make the most money? Well, they don't make money in the U.S. Open Cup. They make it in the Leagues Cup. So I can understand why, Don Garber is pushing the Open Cup to the side, because he's not controlling it. And he wants to control it just like he controls everything else, or tries to control everything else here in America. So I understand his comments, and I don't think that those comments resonate with majority of the fans around the sport. We all know the history of the trophy, the oldest trophy in American soccer here, and fans, are sentimental to that. But at the same time, too, Philadelphia Union haven't had a home game since 2018, and even when the Union were at home, they really weren't filling out that stadium unless it was a final. So yes, I hear the complaints about Mercedes-Benz Stadium not being full. You look around the league and seeing these stadiums that aren't full during Leagues Cup. But I'd make the argument, too, during the U.S. Open Cup, fans weren't really going out for those games as well.
Todd, can I ask you a question? Do you think that this is the issue here is growing the sport popularity in this country versus growing what's best for the country as a whole, as far as performance? Because I think that's the difference. I think Don is more worried about growing the popularity, and everybody that's into the Open Cup is more worried about, we need to make sure that we're helping the lower tiers so that maybe we can somehow help this whole pay to play and all those other things. And I feel like those are the two things that we're dealing with right now, because one is grow the popularity, the other one's help the rest of the country. What do you think is more important and at this point?
Ooh, for Don Garber or the American soccer
for
fan?
you, for Todd Lewis?
For me, I think growing the sport is probably the most important, and I'm not sure Leagues Cup really does that compared to US Open Cup. But I don't know. Again, I'm probably going to be in the minority here out of everybody here. I'm not a US Open Cup fan, so it's like if MLS teams, if MLS fans, I mean, if MLS teams participate or not, I could care less. Now, the one thing I would say, if MLS teams do get back involved, I would like to see all games away and not at the home stadiums, because then I think you're going to see a lot of upsets. You're going to see packed out stadiums because these lower league fans are going to see the top dogs come into town and everything. And I think that's going to be good for, those local teams to make money. And I also think too, that we talk about promoting the sport, getting eyes on all players. You're going to have more eyes on these lower league games when they're playing against MLS teams, because, look at the upsets and whatnot. We had the upset a couple years ago, right? During the run that Orlando City. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's good for like player progression down in the lower leagues, just getting more eyes on those players. And you don't know. I mean, maybe that's what those players need to take the step up to the next league and eventually get their way to Europe, because we all know that that's the number one goal. It seems like the players in America to eventually wind up in Europe.
Obviously, for those that don't know, I do an Inter Miami podcast, and we have a lot of new viewers from around the country. And one of the first things that you hear a lot for those new viewers to the MLS, they like to say that the play or the quality is low. I think that's a heavy statement. I think they're just saying it just to say it. But regardless, let's say hypothetically they watch it and they do believe that it's lower quality play. Do you think that it's going to help them when they tune into Apple TV or Bleacher Report on YouTube, whatever it may be, them watching them play against other Mexican teams, or having to sit them to watch Inter Miami versus Miami FC or Alabama, Birmingham? Like, I feel like that's another hit that we might take, is we want to grow this league in popularity, but then we're like, yeah, but let's make sure that they keep playing against these lower division teams. And I think that they should keep both. Let me preface this. I think they should keep both and just expand the rosters for the Open Cup. But if we had to choose one, I think Leagues Cup is more important to grow the sport. Let me just jump over here to Will. Will, do you think it's more important to grow the sport in popularity, or to do what everybody keeps saying and MLS needs to help the lower tiers and other leagues in the country?
Well, I think it's more important to grow the sport, but I don't think we need to just necessarily kick out the U.S. Open Cup. And I agree that it needs to have more resources and investment to make people care about it. And it's non-existent right now. You know, you never really know where the games are being broadcasted at, or the dates are promoted. You could make an argument that was a big deal or a downfall of MLS in general in years past about scheduling times when games were on. I think promotion's lacking in a lot of areas, not just the U.S. Open Cup. But I think that what they need to do is come together and try to come to an agreement on what they can do together to make this tournament matter more and get more, access for people to watch it, more advertisement money if that's an issue. And I think it's cool that, lower end teams, maybe local teams, you say Sacramento or Louisville City, these USL teams that have huge fan bases, getting to watch their teams play against an MLS club they, normally wouldn't be able to watch. And if we're being honest, guys, it's not, MLS teams normally win it every year anyways. And it's a ticket punch to go to the CONCACAF Champions Cup if you win it. Last year, Miami played the Houston Dynamo, and everybody thought Miami was going to get their second trophy and beat the Dynamo. And what happened? It was an upset story. We watched Houston beat Inter Miami, and that was a fun game to watch. I honestly was shocked that they had won. And I think that that's the kind of experiences we need to recreate. And I think people did tune into that match because it was Messi in Miami. But what they need to do is they need to find a way how to expand that and get more people interested. It's obviously broken, but that doesn't mean we just need to throw it away. That's just my point, or my opinion on it.
Okay. Justin.
Yeah, I think that Don Garber's responsibility is to grow the MLS. I don't think his responsibility. I know there's a partnership with the U.S. Soccer Federation, but I think ultimately what it comes down to is he's got to do what's best for the league. And if he's feeling like it diminishes the product, if it creates a potential risk for players, we talked about maybe playing away matches. I know not much of U.S. soccer is regulated on field conditions. It's particularly low in USL.
Right.
So I think that he's in the right. It doesn't mean that I agree with it. I think the U.S. Open Cup is something that we could sell, but let's be honest, to a casual fan, how many casual Premier League fans watch FA Cup? Probably not very many, right? They're not watching Aston Villa versus Stevenage. So it's not something that's going to grow us. And for the money's aspect, I think that's what's ultimately going to push U.S. soccer over the edge, right? Is pumping more money into this league, getting as much money and better contracts for the players, so that we have situations where we can get players that come up through our academies that say, hey, this is a realistic option. That's how we grow the sport. Growing the sport through, the tier system or the non-existent pyramid. It's nice in theory, but it's just not playing out in reality.
And I like the FA Cup. I like the FA Cup because, for example, in England, you have 30 billion teams that play in London. So it's like neighborhood versus neighborhood. I think it works. But when you're telling me that Inter Miami is going to play against, I don't know, the Tampa Bay Rowdies or Alabama Birmingham, or it doesn't matter to us. I get it in the FA Cup, the neighborhoods, they know each other. I feel that's awesome. Here, it just, to me personally, I don't think it works that way. Ty, let's finish it up with you.
I think to grow it more in America, I think Will might have said it. The marketing needs to be better. It's hardly ever, said where we can find it unless a team actually tweets it out. But if the league wants to grow the sport more in America, I think the Leagues Cup and I think Open Cup would be a lot better, in my opinion, only because sometimes you see these upsets and it's like, wow, this MLS team just got beat by a third tier team who's on their way to the second round or whatnot.
Right.
It's one of those things. It's one of those moments where you just sit and enjoy football. You just love to see a actual team compete with the top teams and maybe pull off an upset. I mean, Leagues Cup, I don't see that, but I don't see that growing the sport in America because it's constant MLS versus Liga MX. But teams we never heard of pulling an upset is, in my opinion, probably one of the best things ever because it's just fun to see.
I could see that. I could see that. The only thing is that, look, I'm more Americanized than I guess most as far as my football or soccer fandom. And when I picture the Yankees playing against, and I like to say it all the time, the Yankees playing against the Jumbo Shrimp, I have no interest in watching the Yankees play against the Jumbo Shrimp. I like to watch the Yankees play against other major league teams, and I kind of feel that way across the board for most sports. But I know that football is very specific in the way that they do it around the world, and that's how people have grown up, and I respect it. But
yeah,
that's
go
ahead.
But Danny, everybody would watch the Savannah Bananas versus the New York Yankees. Everyone would tune in for that one.
that one specifically, probably, for sure. So Leagues Cup, that was the conversation, and it started on Friday, but we're just talking about the Open Cup. Because of the Open Cup, a lot of people blame the Leagues Cup, obviously, schedule congestion being the reason that they pulled out or whatnot. They blame the Leagues Cup, and they have decided to stand packed with the Open Cup. And some people, some supporters, and some people on Twitter have decided that they're going to boycott the Leagues Cup. All right. Now, I know Austin was one of those supporter groups that said that they came out with an official statement. Here, we're going to stand by the Open Cup. We're not going to go. Hope you don't go. That stadium was rocking. I don't know who protested. Seattle Sounders, they played against Minnesota. They didn't even play against the Liga MX team. And somebody came out on Twitter and they're like, wow, the boycott's working. Only 28,500 people showed up. 28,500 seems like a lot to me. Now, their point was that it's usually over 30,000. So on 31,000, give or take. Look, 3,000 less, to me, it's still a really good turnout for the Leagues Cup. I don't see where this boycott is working. I don't see what the point of the boycott really is. But to each their own, I respect it because I'm all for fighting for what you believe in. What do you guys think of this boycott? Do you think there's any point in it? And do you think it's working? I'm going to go with Will first.
Well, it seems like there's just kind of like this, everybody's got a different perspective of why they want to boycott it. Like you got the national team fans who are boycotting it because they say it's jeopardizing US Open Cup. You got Liga MX fans boycotting because they say that it's jeopardizing the beginning of their season. So there's no consistency of why people are boycotting it. It's just that they agree that they're boycotting it. And I don't think it's going to actually do anything because if anything, MLS and Don Garber has shown that he's stubborn and he doesn't really care what the general population thinks, that they're going to do what they're going to do. If he did care, we would have some crazy roster rule changes and we'd be spending like crazy and, you know, the league would be completely different. But me personally, I got a lot of flack because I was upset when they said last year that it was going to be hosted here again. I would like to see it hosted in Mexico just to change it up and see how, you know, just for curiosity purposes, see how we would do in Mexico with a different atmosphere and a whole different format. But I got some flack for saying I was going to boycott it. Or I didn't actually say boycott. I just said I wasn't interested, but I'm still going to watch because I want to see what happens. But I think the boycott really doesn't make any sense because it's not going to do anything. And like you said, Austin FC had a supporters group put out a statement. Stadium was packed. And it would be funny. Wouldn't it have been funny if they did actually boycott the game? No one showed up and they ended up winning the whole damn thing, you know, because like you said, they beat Pumas, which they normally are terrible against Liga MX teams or in these type of tournaments. They lost in the CONCACAF Champions Cup last year to a Haitian club. Didn't they get like smoked? Like 6-1 or 5-1 or something crazy like that last year. Yeah, exactly. So, I just think it's nonsensical. It's not going to do anything. I mean, just enjoy it. I mean, you know, if your team gets bounced early, just enjoy the ride. I mean, it's not going anywhere.
And Mr. Krabs said that Austin supporters, I guess Austin is playing at this moment, and Austin supporters are at the game as we speak. So maybe it's a small supporters group that boycotted, and there's other supporter groups in there that are showing up. But look, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference either. Justin, are you boycotting the Leagues Cup?
No, actually, my wife actually bought tickets to go to the game, so I'm definitely not going to be the one boycotting this match. No, I get why people are doing it. I actually reached out to some of I know Rupesh was in this chat. He's part of the Norden supporter group here in Cincinnati. There are people that are definitely against it, but for the most part, the leadership, from what I'm being told, is on board with it. It's just another competition, and this team's got Cincinnati's back, right? I mean, come hell or high water, they're going to be there. They're going to be there cheering for them. So Leagues Cup or not, the excitement is still there to play in European international competitions here in Cincinnati. But I could see where it gets a little stale for some fans. And yeah, if you want to make a voice, go ahead and protest. But I think ultimately it's not making a dent on the opinions of the people that matter.
I agree. Ty?
Yeah. I think, if I remember correctly, Nordeca said that they're not going to boycott the Leagues Cup. It's because there's no point in it. We know people are going to be there. It might not be sellouts or anything like that, but people are going to fill the stadiums. They're going to support the team no matter what. However, if people choose to not go to Leagues Cup and not, spend money on tickets, by all means, that's on them. But the main thing is just upping the lads as they put in their statement, and just cheering on the team. No boycott is probably going to work and be beneficial in the long term, because this is just going to be a tournament that we see going on in the future.
My thing is that I really do believe that, hypothetically, one of these supporter groups that boycotts, if their team randomly makes it to the semifinal, I see them coming out with an official statement saying that our guys have fought really hard, blood, sweat, and tears, and we feel bad not being there in the semifinal after all the work that they put in. We're going to show up despite our hate for the Leagues Cup to support them. And they're going to backtrack because all of a sudden their team's in the semifinals. And I really do believe that. Now, if they didn't do it, I think that would be awesome, but I doubt it. I think if they make a run, they'll be showing up. Todd, you boycotting?
No, absolutely not. So I do want to touch on a point that Will brought up, and you just brought up too, Danny. So being a Philadelphia Union podcaster, I've talked to plenty of supporters, and they actually told me if the Union do wind up making the final of Leagues Cup, if the Union do so host it at Superior Park, that, yeah, the fans are going to show up. So the Sons of Ben, the official supporters group of the Philadelphia Union, they left in the 2010 mark of the game, took their drums, took their tifos away, and just went in the stands and sat. And KSU, Keystone State Ultras, which is another supporter section, they're not seen by ISCC, but they came over into the river end and took over the Capo stands because Sons of Ben left. And so they were like, we still want to create an atmosphere. And so KSU were fantastic all game, just bringing the noise. And Sons of Ben, their atmosphere has been lacking the last couple months, in my opinion. That they aren't the same supporters group that once brought this club to Philadelphia back in 2010. And there seems to be some division within the leadership of that board, where some people want to protest, some people don't want to protest. And we get so many different statements from that group, which, people say, yeah, why'd you guys put that out? I don't agree with that. You have members on the board voting about, okay, are we going to protest ownership? Because the big thing in Philadelphia right now, the fans are really upset with Jay Sugarman, one of the lowest spending owners in MLS. And so there was supposed to be a protest of protesting against Jay Sugarman, but somehow that protest that Sons of Ben were going to do never turned out to be a protest because they were too afraid to protest in the stadium. And so Sons of Ben got called out by a whole bunch of their members, and now their protest that they were going to have is now turning people against Sons of Ben. And so it's so funny. So yes, they wanted to protest Leagues Cup, but now it's turned into people protesting against the Sons of Ben, and Keystone State Ultras are taking advantage of the situation, saying, hey, look, you guys can bicker amongst yourselves. We're going to be here because there is a second supporters group here, and we're going to continue to support the team, the players, the coaching staff. And the Sons of Ben even said that too in their statement. They said, well, we'll leave after 2010. in the first game, then we're not showing up for the rest of the tournament. We told the players, the coaching staff, that it's not them, it's Leagues Cup that we're against. And KSU say, no matter what, we're going to be there to support the team, because that's our jobs as supporters, to support the team no matter what. And so, it's interesting times right now here in Philadelphia. But me personally, now I'm still going to show up to the games and cover them.
Man, I don't know if that's interesting or sad. That's rough what you're going through over there. And
we love the drama. We absolutely love the drama.
Well, let's real quick. Let's switch it up real quick, just Philadelphia-wise. Kevin Sullivan. What do you want to tell us about
Kevin?
Really?
Yeah,
I feel like that's a bright spot.
No, it's going to turn into another messy situation. Like, you guys are taking advantage of this, and I don't know, maybe there's some Miami fans that are just tired of Messi getting shoved down your throats. I know there's plenty of people in Philadelphia that feel that same way.
There are some.
You see just Kevin Sullivan this, Kevin Sullivan that. Like, the Union I checked Twitter, Kevin threw out the first pitch last night at the Phillies game, and now you're just seeing videos and pictures of him meeting Bryce Harper, walking around the stadium and everything. It's like, come on, the dude's 14 years old. I mean, he's a generational talent, and to his credit, he's very, very humble. He says, and it's nice to have all these expectations, all the hype and everything, but he's like, I'm staying grounded and not letting it go to my head. And credit to him, credit to his family, and his inner circle for keeping him grounded. But so many expectations on that kid. I mean, he played 5 minutes against New England on his debut a couple games ago, and he looked good in the 5 minutes. I mean, granted, the Union were up 5-1 against New England at that time, so it's not like New England had a chance, but he completed a couple passes, nice little 1-2s with his brother Quinn Sullivan. And Jim Curtin said, we're just going to manage his minutes. We're going to pick and choose the opponents that he goes against. And you have some fans in the fan base, and I'm sure on Twitter too, just United States fans are saying, oh, play Kevin more, because we've seen that before with some of our homegrown players, Jack McGlynn, Nate Harriel. It's like some of these fans are saying, oh, no matter what, you got to play the homegrowns. But then when you start playing them and they get linked to other teams in Europe, then those fans get pissed that you sell these players off. And it's like, that's going to be the ultimate goal. Like, these players want to play in Europe. Sure. Like, I don't understand why fans aren't okay with MLS being a selling league. There's no issue, in my opinion, with MLS being a selling league. Like, most teams in the world are a selling league, in my opinion. And the only leagues that you could say aren't selling leagues are honestly the Premier League. I mean, look, yeah, they bring, and even that, I mean, they're still bringing in players from Serie A, La Liga, Bundesliga. So it's really only the Premier League that I don't really see being a selling league. All these other leagues around the world, they know their place, and I think MLS fans should be fine with that as well.
I think most fans can be okay with that, but I think particularly with Philadelphia and FC Dallas, it's kind of exhausted the roster. So that's why I can understand Philadelphia fans, because Sullivan is standing right now on quicksand. This team is collapsing before our very eyes, and it goes back to the ownership group, right? Not spending money, not making changes over this run. You obviously have a proven head coach, you have a proven group of guys, but you're just consistently just re-rolling with the same roster every single year, and you're losing your most talented players. Aaronsons have moved on. McGlynn is going to be gone here soon. And now Sullivan, it's just a matter of time. So I can understand people's fatigue with it.
And here to Solana's point, Solana's joining us. He says American fans aren't used to it, and American fans aren't used to it. They're used to the NBA, for example, being the destination. Like, everybody wants to get here to the NBA. All the Japanese players that are the best players in baseball want to get to the MLB. So the American fans aren't used to, like, hey, we have a good player, they want to go somewhere else. Like, it's just, it is an American fan thing. We're not used to not being the destination. So I definitely agree with that point by Solana. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that because I thought that would be a happy conversation. I'm sorry, Todd. I didn't think that I was going to go down a dark path. All right. So week 1 done. Match day 1, I guess you could technically say, for the group stage done. We're starting with match day 2, I believe, today. I thought it was a great start. That first game, Atlanta and DC, even though the attendance wasn't great, I thought it was a great game. And then, to me personally, the game of the weekend was the Austin Pumas game, where Austin was down to 10 men in like the 36th minute, and they held off Pumas. They even added a goal at one point and beat them 3-1. Alexander Ring is one of my favorite players in the league. Random name, I know, but I love Alexander Ring. I think that he's underrated. And I just really enjoyed watching that game. And then overall, the weekend I thought was just great and full of games. What did you guys think of the first set of games for Leagues Cup? Will, I haven't heard from you in a while. Will, what did you think about the first group of games?
Well, it's really good for MLS. They're up 7-1 against Liga MX teams. Some fans are getting mad because I counted the PKs or the penalties as a win, but if it was the other way around, I would have counted it for Liga MX teams as well. I mean, it's a solid start so far for MLS. We'll see how it continues with the Mexican Giants playing, because we haven't really seen them yet. I'll be interested to see what they can do. I mean, I kind of thought from the get-go it was going to probably be several MLS teams and probably like 5 to 6 really good Liga MX teams down to the wire, and that's what we're going to see when things really start to ramp up. But I mean, it's been pretty exciting. I know we talked a little bit before the podcast had started about some people saying, including myself, that it felt a little there's not as much buzz as last year. But I think that that's mostly because we're thinking of last year's high of watching Messi and Inter Miami lift the cup against Nashville SC. That was the last moment we remember in Leagues Cup. And the group stage was honestly boring last year besides Inter Miami and Messi, because that, it was cool to see him play on American soil for an American team. So I think once we start ramping things up, it's going to get even more exciting. Todd had said that, if the fans of the Union will probably go to the Leagues Cup final if they make it, which I hope they would, and that'd be crazy if they did. But I think fans will really start to come around, and I even had one of my buddies who doesn't even watch MLS. He just watches the national team in European soccer, and he said that Leagues Cup, he's going to treat it like the NBA playoffs or the NFL playoffs. He's going to wait till things get a little more serious, and then he's going to tune in. So when the bad teams are kind of eliminated, that's when he's going to really start to pay attention. And that's what I think a lot of fans are going to end up doing.
I agree that the knockout stage is when things are going to turn up. And I hadn't even thought about that until you brought it up to me when we first got here, that the group stage last year was pretty boring. But once it got to the knockout stage, that's when things started picking up. And that's especially because it's every 3 or 4 games, and it felt like there was a game every night. So that also helped with the excitement. Now, this weekend was, I thought, a great weekend of MLS soccer, but I thought the best performance was by a player that wasn't participating in the Leagues Cup yet. Ty, what did you think about the first couple of games of Leagues Cup and our boy Cucho dropping a hat trick against right there on that EPL team, Aston Villa's ass? Bah!
I will say I did not watch a lot of Leagues Cup. I did watch LAFC Club Tijuana and Juan Carlos Osorio getting the red card. That was interesting. Nonetheless, Cucho absolutely dominated against Aston Villa. It was first half hat trick. I did not expect. I did not have him on bingo card. I actually did Inside the Career podcast earlier today, and I told Chris Doran, who does the English play-by-play radio, do not be surprised if a transfer offer north of $20 million for Cucho comes across Wilfred Nancy's desk in January. I think Cucho has proven that he is a lethal goal scorer. But I do believe that he is sought after. May not be this transfer window, but the next one coming up next year, I do see him on the move. However, it is up to him though. And Cucho is just one of those guys. But the Leagues Cup, I have not watched a lot of. I think the only one I watched was the end of Austin, and then all of LAFC and Tijuana.
I would trade Luis Suarez for Cucho right now.
I don't want that. I don't want that.
I'm sure. I can't blame you, but I would do that right now.
Well, yeah.
And I'll throw in a Robert Taylor.
There's probably
I would take
4
Robert Taylor. What's that?
There's probably 4 players in this league that somebody wouldn't want to offer up for Cucho Hernandez. He's just phenomenal, man. He's got the endless motor that everybody would dream to have for a 9. Cucho would just absolutely beat the brakes out of and Pau Torres is not something that's a weak link for Aston Villa. So I mean, that was ridiculously impressive. I think it was one of those. It was a showcase. It was the Leagues Cup showcase game. I think that was a hell of a showcase there.
And El Bigote said, take it back right now. Absolutely not. I would trade Cucho immediately for Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez can limp his ass back over there to Columbus. I will happily take Cucho. For those that don't know, Cucho is my favorite non-Inter Miami player.
Yeah, we'll offer up Bapenza too. We'll do like a three-way trade.
No. Yeah, as long as Bapenza goes to Miami, that's fun.
Todd, Leagues Cup, first week. What you think, sir?
Yeah, I'm with Ty. I mean, didn't really watch too much. Watched the opening match on Friday between Atlanta United and DC United, which wound up going to penalty kicks. 6-5, DC United won that game. Crazy 3-3 game. And that is the one thing I do like about Leagues Cup is how after 90 minutes, if the game ends tied, we go straight to penalty kicks. And I think come NFL MLS playoffs, that'll help teams once they get into penalty kick situations. The Union have been hit or miss in penalties, so it's not a bad thing for the Union if they get a couple of these games in penalty kicks. Last year they played in penalties against DC United and New York Red Bulls. And won both of those penalty shootouts. But as history shows, the Union aren't a great penalty shootout team. We're pretty successful in 2021. I think that's the run where they beat Nashville and Walker Zimmerman slipped on the penalty spot or sent the ball flying over and blamed it on the pitch, which, by the way, fantastic game this weekend. Not really. No, it's such a boring game. And Dean Smith blamed Charlotte's loss for the pitch. And in his pregame press conference today between them and Cruz Azul, again, he was blaming the pitch of Subaru Park, saying, "Oh, what a horrible field and everything." It's like, dude, let it go. Like, you sound like such a sore loser. Like, your team lost and you're blaming the field. Like, you blame your team for not putting any shots on target. Only 7 shots in that game, 0 on target. It's like your team didn't test the Union's back line because a couple weeks ago you guys came into Subaru Park and made Jacob Glesnes and Jack Elliott look like fools back there as the 2 center backs for the Union. They came into Subaru Park and beat them 2-0, and now you lose 1-0 to the Union. Now you're blaming the field. It's like, come on, dude. And he's like, yeah, a couple weeks ago the field wasn't this bad, and now it's horrible. Well, Arsenal were training at Subaru Park yesterday, and no complaints whatsoever about the field. So it's like, come on, Dean, what are we doing?
No, okay, there you go. No complaints from Arsenal. I didn't know that part. All right, that was week 1, Leagues Cup. I thought overall, a success. Attendance, I mean, hit or miss, I guess. I thought that the attendance was good also. We got the second and third batch of games coming up this week. My question to you guys. And Will, I'm not sure. Are you in Tennessee?
Yeah.
So, okay. So maybe Nashville-wise, or maybe just overall. Are they taking the fan base, right? Because I know the team's going to say that they take it seriously. Do the fans want the Leagues Cup title?
For Nashville? Well, I'm just going to disclose this. I'm not a Nashville SC fan.
I'm assuming you know some.
Yeah, no, I don't. I really don't know many Nashville SC fans. There's not many of them around where I'm at. But yeah, I would assume that they would, especially since they came so close to winning it last year. But they've really had a really bad season. They fired their coach a couple months ago now, which is crazy to think about. Obviously, I have BJ coming from the national team to take over for Nashville, which I actually like that hire a lot. But the attendance has been poor all season long for Nashville. There's a lot of fans that are just interested with going to the games in general. So, I mean, I think the season might be a lost cause at this point, and that they can just hope to maybe make some moves this offseason and try to rebuild this thing next year with some, hope of maybe being competitive again.
Ty, Columbus, they got the star. They're the champs. Do they care at all about Leagues Cup? The fans?
Not really. I hear mixed reviews, but I hear more so that they don't care. They want another MLS Cup. They want another star above their crest. Because I think with Leagues Cup, they don't see the benefits of it. I mean, yeah, it'll grant a spot in CONCACAF, but to have the first round, to have a bye into, I believe it's a round of 16 for CONCACAF Champions Cup to win that after win MLS Cup is what they want more. It's one of those things where we're spoiled, obviously, with 3 MLS MLS Cups. Yeah. But they're more focused on the things on the trophy that gives a star above the crest. Nobody cares here in Columbus, honestly.
Well, I'll go to Justin just because he likes the supporter shield, so I'm sure they're all in on the Leagues Cup. So how bad do you guys want the Leagues Cup?
The players, you're never going to get Pat Noonan or Lucho Acosta to not want a trophy.
Right.
So the players are just 100% all in. But as a fan base, I think we just want to stop leaking goals and get some center backs. I think I think we're just like, okay, if we can make moves and get Miles Robinson back from the U.S. Team over in the Olympics, and then maybe we can get some cohesion going. That's what we want to see right now. So Leagues Cup is probably low on the fan base priority poll, but again, Lucho Acosta wants trophies, and Pat Noonan is not going to pull any strings, right? This is going to be the best team that we can field given our current situation with injuries.
Todd, I mean, I don't even know what you're going to say because you just
no, it serves Justin right. They take our front office personnel, they take our assistant head coach, they take our players, and now they start leaking goals, just like the Union were this season. So you know what? You guys can continue to suffer because you guys want to be the Philadelphia Union so bad. How about you guys just continue to leak all the goals like the Union were earlier in the season?
Yeah, I was really hoping that Julian Carranza would come over, but
I thought Quinn Sullivan would a couple years ago with his uncle Chris Albright, but looks like Jim Curtin's found a place for him in the starting lineup. Imagine if a world of Quinn Sullivan and Kevin Sullivan both in FC Cincinnati would have been wild.
Mm-hmm.
Todd, does the fan base care at all about Leagues Cup?
No, they don't.
No.
They should though, because I mean the Union's sitting 10th in MLS Cup, and if they want to play in CONCACAF Champions Cup next season, this is probably their best bet of qualifying next year. So the players are all in on it. Jim Curtin says it all the time. There's a good money incentive for the players. I think the prize pool was $40 million between all teams. And then last year we saw the winners get $2 million for winning MLS Cup. So yeah, I mean, the money incentive is there for the players, but the fans don't care. The fans don't want to be there. But in my opinion, they should. The Union fans have been arguing, we want a trophy. They haven't had a trophy since 2020, the Supporters Shield, and you can put an asterisk next to that because of the COVID season. So some fans say, that doesn't count. Some say it does count. But, Union fans shouldn't be picking and choosing. They should be happy with any trophy at this point.
Well, I will tell you, Todd, in 2021, I think you guys would have been champs if it wasn't for that COVID Eastern Conference Finals against NYCFC.
I think so too. Yeah, New York City wasn't a great team. That Portland
they
team
weren't.
Was not a great
they
team.
lucked out into that title. I tell them all the time. I used to be an NYCFC supporter before Inter Miami came into existence, but I tell them all the time they lucked into that because that was a COVID Eastern Conference Finals. So, Will, what do you think about the Griezmann? Who is Giroud? Is that the best attacking trio in the league? That's just randomly came to me, just randomly. I know I don't left field, but is that the best attacking trio in the league?
That's the best attacking trio this league will have ever seen, in my opinion. It's you were talking earlier about Miami being the favorites because the depth you guys have. I think LAFC is building something like we've never seen before, and it's going to be really hard for any team to beat them. And but Giroud and Griezmann is exactly what this tournament needs injected into it. Some big names that it's going to get people to tune in. Yeah, I mean Griezmann's not going to be Messi, but he's one of the most known players in the world. He's still very good. He's only 32 years old, or he might be 33 now, but he's either 32 or 33. And him coming to MLS right now when he could still stay at Atletico Madrid and be one of their best players. I mean, that's a huge statement for the league, and I think it would be good for the league and get some casuals to tune in like they did last year.
I think that would be wild also, and that's me saying Messi and Suarez is on Inter Miami, which is the team that I root for, I podcast for. I still think trio. I think that LAFC would have the best trio. Now I saw Justin shake his head; he doesn't think so. Justin, you don't think that would be the best trio in the league?
I have some mixed opinions about Giroud. I think Giroud, it's obviously a completely different league, right? It's not Serie A.
Right.
You're not facing center backs that are pretty daggone good. So, but I just think that Giroud the last few years has kind of just lost that step, right? He has that great World Cup performance in 2022, but I think that Giroud is just kind of looking a little lost on the pitch now in the Western Conference. I don't think that's going to be very much of a problem. I think you're going to be able to put up some goals, but I think you got to give some respect to Ty's team. It's going to be hard pressed to compete with Cucho Hernandez, Rossi, and even, we even saw Christian Ramirez last year playing phenomenal, lights out in the playoffs. So I think they're the three best attacking options right now. We'll see how Giroud. I have no problem with Denis Bouanga or Griezmann. Those, no doubt.
Justin, let me ask you something real quick. Hold on a second. Let me ask you this real quick. You said that Giroud has lost a step, right? That he might not be the same player. Last I checked, he was third in Serie A in goals. He was first in the league in assists. That's pretty damn good still, and that was in Serie A. And now he's going to play on probably the most stacked team in the league, where he's going to have Bouanga on one side. He's going to have Griezmann playing behind him. He's going to have Kike Oliveira on the right side. That is something this league has never seen before on one team. This is like a 2010 MLS All-Star team almost, but probably better, actually. Listen, Cucho Hernandez is great. Diego Rossi is great. Chris Ramirez is good. But this is something we're talking about a Milan striker. We're talking about Atletico's arguably best player this year in Spain and La Liga. This is something we have never seen before. This is the best attacking trio I've ever seen since I've been watching this league, or at least on paper, right? We'll see what they do. On paper, it's the best I've ever seen.
I think my apprehension with Giroud, and maybe, Bouanga and Griezmann are the solution to that. I think my apprehension for that was just how much Milan depended on Leao to progress the ball and create dangerous opportunities. I think that he did a lot to get Giroud in position for goals. I don't think it was so much Giroud's pedigree or finding the right spot. I think that the defense had to shade on Leao entering the left side of the box.
Well, I'll side with Justin. As far as if I were to tier them 1 to 3, Giroud would be 3 for me. I would stack Griezmann and Bouanga ahead of Giroud. Ty, you agree?
No.
Your boys, Cucho, Rossi. Okay.
No. I honestly don't think that even if Giroud and Griezmann were playing with LA when Columbus went there and beat them 5-1, they wouldn't have even helped LAFC pull out a win. Honestly, they probably wouldn't have even helped them pull out a win in MLS Cup last year. This front three that Nancy has with Ramirez, Cucho, and Rossi is honestly the more dynamic trio that the league has seen. The way that they interchange every 20 minutes, it's hard to keep tabs on where either one of them is. You have Cucho with 13 goals. Rossi's getting up there, I think 6 goals on the season. Ramirez with, I want to say 5 or 6 also. Just that front three can absolutely just manhandle any back line.
All right, so you're going Columbus. Justin's going Columbus. Will's going LAFC. I'm going LAFC. Todd, tiebreaker. Best trio in the league.
No, we already know. You're asking the Philadelphia Union fan to name LAFC? Absolutely not. I'm going FC Cincinnati, baby. Let's go, Chris Albright.
I forget that
Yu Kubo is the best attacking three options.
Lucho Acosta is the best player in the league by far, in my opinion.
Lucho Acosta? Okay.
Yeah.
In the league. In a league with a healthy Messi?
I'll take an Acosta over him. I mean, dude's filthy. Look what he did with a terrible DC United team when he was there. A god-awful DC United team.
Look at what Messi did with the last place Inter Miami team. He literally rode him to a first trophy.
Look what MLS did for Inter Miami.
Oh, no.
I can get behind Lucho Acosta being the best player in the league, honestly.
He's the best player in the league right now. Like, he's in the best form, and you can see how much better obviously they are when he's cooking and they're rolling right now. They had like a little bit of a bump, but yeah, I mean, it's a tough one for me who the best player in the league is. I go back and forth. Messi is when he's healthy, right? And then I think a player that's new to the league that's been crazy good is Gabriel Peck. I don't know how much you guys have watched to him, but like, he's something I haven't seen in the league before. The pace, the dribbling ability, he's just incredible. And I don't think he's going to be in the league for much longer. I wouldn't be surprised if he's sold this winter just because of how well he's played. And Lucho Costa is a very good player. I mean, what he did for DC United was incredible with Wayne Rooney for the 2018 season. And he almost got a move to PSG, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a run right now. I think he's definitely top 3, and he's definitely the best player right this moment. But I don't know if he's the best player in all circumstances in MLS.
You know what? And the Galaxy, they're gonna. Was Ruse finally announced today? Because I heard that it was gonna be announced on Tuesday, but I haven't heard anything.
I think it's still. I don't think Marco Reus has been announced officially yet. I think they're still trying to get some stuff lined up and signed. But even that signing kind of is overshadowed by Griezmann now, right? I mean, that it doesn't really even have as much ring to it as what it did maybe a couple weeks ago. I mean, but the Galaxy are good though. I mean,
but the Galaxy have a good team also going.
Yeah, they do. They've built their team a little differently than what LAFC has, right? They're building their team with players where they're building their name with the Galaxy. Nobody really knew who Joseph Paintsil was or who Gabriel Peck or Ricky. Maybe you knew who Ricky Puig was a little bit, but he was kind of more of a Barcelona reject when he came to the LA Galaxy 2 years ago. But yeah, it's different styles of how they're building their team. Now, one of the moves that's crazy, and I've been tweeting about this, was getting Lewis O'Brien to LAFC. This guy was at DC United last year. They couldn't work out a transfer fee for him. I think they were wanting like 6 or 7 million for him, and DC United just weren't willing to pay that, or they're not willing to pay that for almost any player, honestly. And so he ended up going back to England. And this was a guy that was requested specifically by Wayne Rooney to come to DC United when he was the coach. And to get him on loan at LAFC on a TAM deal is great business. And that is just another reason why that team is so scary, because he would be a DP for any other team, any other circumstance.
I agree with everything that you said, Todd. You're a crazy person. And but we're coming up on the hour. I really appreciate the time. Now, before we get out of here, it is our tradition on the Battered Fans Network that we ask a question because we like to get to know you guys a little better. So we are going to ask a question. I'm going to ask Will 2 questions, though, because, Will, you're the only one that hasn't answered the first question yet. So, Will, real quick. All right, you ready? Late 90s, there was a boom in music, okay? And you had to be one of 2. Now, it's a must. You got to go one or the other. Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
It's a tough one.
It's only one right answer.
I would probably go NSYNC.
Oh no, that's the wrong answer. What are you doing to me, Will? That's Justin Timberlake.
Listen. I'm hyped from when I just watched the Deadpool Wolverine movie. There's an intro with an NSYNC song. It's crazy. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie yet, but yeah, I'm on the NSYNC hype. I do like Backstreet Boys too, though.
Oh man, no, it's recency bias. Like at Chris. Chris is in the chat. Gosh darn it. All right, that's fine. All right, and then one last question, and I guess I'll start with Will. Chris kills me because I drink my water room temp. Will, we going room temp or cold with the water?
Well, it just depends on what season of the year it is for me. I drink room temp like in the wintertime, and I drink cold water in the summertime.
Oh, you don't live in paradise like us.
Yeah, I don't. I got all 4 seasons.
Okay. Got it. All right. All right. Justin, room temp or cold?
Room temp every day of the week.
That's my boy right there.
Yeah, actually, in the press box, one second, in the press box at FC Cincinnati, they have a dispenser now, so you can pick ambient temperature for the water, and it's perfect.
You guys are so fancy over there in Cincinnati.
No, you guys are bougie. Hey, you get a supporter shield. All of a sudden they get bougie. Todd,
our soda machines didn't even work the last couple of weeks in Philadelphia. So
you guys are a mess over there. Room temp or are we going cold? Cold. All right. Yeah, you're a horrible person. And Ty, what are we doing? Room temp, cold.
Cold.
Oh no!
I gotta have cold. I gotta have cold.
My guy Justin, right there. I appreciate you, Justin. All right. Now let me bring everybody back on the screen. Go ahead. I'll make sure that you let everybody know. And in the description, I will be adding everybody's YouTube channel and all their info. So if you're watching, you can go ahead and follow them. So Justin, let's start with you. Let everybody know where they can find you, what you do, when you post, when you go on, all that other good stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on X at _ Blair, Blair, or you can check out the rest of the great group at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. You can find us at Cincy Soccer Talk on X, or you can find us at cincysoccertalk.com. We do podcasts. We do, we have live shows on Monday at 9 p.m. Just check us out sometime.
Todd, the God, Lewis.
Yeah, you can go ahead and find me on Twitter at It's a Todd's Life, the podcast at Free Kick Pod, the youtube.com/Free Kick Pod, and then wherever you get your podcasts, the Free Kick, and record usually once a week, twice a week if it's 2 games in a week. And yeah, I'll write articles on my Substack, thefreekick.substack.com. Goals breakdown. I do every single goals breakdown, whether it's goals that the Union concede or they score themselves. Not doing it for Leagues Cup. Absolutely refuse to do it for Leagues Cup, but I will write about Leagues Cup or do a podcast on Leagues Cup, and I'm not breaking down Leagues Cup goals. But yeah, that's where you can find me. And again, thank you guys. And yeah, I'm not a weirdo. You are. Can we remind your fans, the people here, that you are a secret Orlando City fan? Like, people didn't forget. Chris will comment, and he will back me up. Mr. Krabs too. Mr. Krabs knows for a fact.
Absolutely not. And I don't know who David Day is. This is a new member to the chat, but I kind of like the way David Day thinks. God bless Don Garber. None of us would be here without him. Shout out to you, David. I like the way you think. Ty, let everybody know where they can find you.
You guys can find me on Twitter at Fisher__. Also, host of the Wise Men Say podcast on Twitter at the Wise Men Pod, and on YouTube at the Wise Men Say podcast.
All right, and then last but definitely not least, Mr. Will Forbes, MLS Moves. Let everybody know where they can find you and what you got going.
So David Day actually is one of my regular watchers, and I did a video recently about the 5 most impactful signings in MLS history. And he actually had Don Garber at number 1. So I think that might be Don Garber's burner account, maybe. I don't know. It hasn't, we don't have evidence of that yet, but it's not looking good for him.
I hope David Day comes around more often because I like the way you think, David.
Yeah, you can follow me at MLS Moves on X and on Instagram, and also at MLS Moves on YouTube. I post videos pretty randomly, just I guess when the news comes out or if I got an idea. I'm also getting close to 4,000 subscribers. I think I'm less than like 60 away. So I appreciate any of the support I can get, and hopefully we can hit that goal relatively soon.
Go ahead. We got right now watching live. We have 30 people. So let's help Will MLS Moves get to that number. So if you haven't already, go ahead and help him out. Subscribe to that channel. And Chris is here putting me on blast in the chat saying that I do not like bacon. I'm not a fan of bacon. I'm not a fan of bacon. That this is true. I also don't like chocolate, and I like my water room temperature. I feel like I'm un-American.
Golly.
Do you not see the shirt? I'm Colombian, man. I'm Colombian.
How do you not like bacon?
It's too greasy. I don't know. I'm not a fan. I like turkey bacon. Does that count? I like turkey bacon.
I mean,
it's so dry, so miserable.
Well, look, Justin likes to sip on his milk after he eats cereal. Like we all have our weird pet peeves, I guess.
I don't sip on it, buddy. That's down the hatch.
Just chug it. Yeah.
I'm the same way.
I dump it. Once my cereal's done, I dump the milk that's left
You're
over.
A psychopath. You're a psychopath.
That's terrible.
You and Chris pulling the carts. It's just like like I'm gonna have an ulcer one day if just thinking about it.
I don't have the images here. I would ask Will that question also, but we'll leave it at that. We appreciate you guys. If you are tuning in for the first time and you listened already, and please leave us a subscription, a like and a subscription. Let me just do my regular outro. If you're listening on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end. Please leave us 5 stars, comment, review, all that other good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, let them know. New MLS podcast weekly, every Tuesday night. Subscribe, be here every night, chat live always. And then for those of you that were in the chat this week, we appreciate you hanging out with us. You guys are the best part of the show. And we'll be back next Tuesday to wrap up the group stage and start talking about the knockout stage coming up in the Leagues Cup. So hope that you guys tune in next week. So until the next one, have a good one.